in what's being seen as another blow for Mr. Trump. His chosen candidate in the Georgia Senate seat runoff was beaten by the Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock. The result strengthens his party's razor-thin majority as he fought off a challenge by Republican former football star Herschel Walker, who was backed by Donald Trump. Mr. Warnock is a pastor of the historic Atlanta church where assassinated civil rights leader Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. preached. He thanked supporters for fighting what he called voter suppression.
And after a hard-fought campaign, or should I say campaigns, it is my honor to utter the four most powerful words ever spoken in a democracy.
Raphael Warnock there. Well, we're going to be crossing over in a minute to speak to Arise correspondent Laurie Laird, who is across that story and who is, of course, herself American. But this obviously represents the second blow for Donald Trump. The first one we mentioned was his Trump organization, which has been, I mean, it's the family business. It's been convicted of tax crimes by a jury in New York. They found the organization guilty on all 17 counts. Mr. Trump, of course, expectedly calling it a witch hunt against him to try to prevent him from running for president again in 2024. But of course, this is just, I mean, the company says they're going to appeal, as you heard there, but this is just one of those things, just one of the many legal issues that he is still facing. And of course, we heard the other political blow to Mr. Trump, Raphael Warnock winning the runoff vote against the man that Mr. Trump supports, Herschel Walker. And of course, that, as I'm sure you probably know, that Georgia vote matters exceedingly because it gives the Democrats an actual vote, majority vote in the Senate. Well, let's take you straight away to our correspondent, Laurie Laird, who is in London. She's been monitoring developments from there. Good to see you, Laurie. Let's start with Mr. Trump's tax problems. Well, his Trump organization, the family business in essence, it's been convicted of tax crimes by a jury in New York, and they were guilty on all counts. Tell us more.
That's right, all 17 counts, Charles. And prior to that, let me just apologize. I had some audio problems as I did yesterday, so I'm so sorry for joining you a little bit late now. But yes, 17 guilty counts, and the jury only deliberated for 2 days, which is, it sounds like quite a long time, but it really isn't for a trial that has been going on 3 months and of such complexity. And it's interesting, Charles, usually trials that are made up of accounting and spreadsheets are very dry, very difficult to follow. But honestly, this was a rather fascinating trial. But what it hinged on, there was a star witness, a guy called Alan Weissenberg, who had been with the Trump organization for 50 years and really was one of Trump's top lieutenants, so much so that even after pleading guilty on individual charges, he's still on the Trump organization payroll. But what it came down to is that Weisselberg and other members of the Trump organization basically paid a number of employees in perks rather than salary. Things like Mercedes-Benz luxury saloons, luxury flats in Miami. School fees for Mr. Weisselberg's grandchildren were picked up, and it benefited both sides of the deal here because the recipients did not have to pay tax. This was undeclared income, and the Trump organization did not have to declare this as salary. And of course, so many taxes that also ultimately go to the federal government are pegged onto a person's salary. So it really is a win-win, which is pretty much why it's against the law.
And Mr. Trump has called this part, this conviction, part of a witch hunt against him, trying to prevent him from running for office again in 2024. But I mean, he's got lots of other legal issues he's facing, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And I think of his legal issues, this is probably the least worrisome for him. It's two Trump organizations that were on trial, nobody personally in the Trump family, although it is very widely believed that he is still being chased for criminal charges arising from information that came from this case. But of course, he's had two other legal setbacks over the past couple of days, past couple of weeks. One was that he could not get what's called a special marshal appointed to review those documents that were found, secret documents, we understand, that were found at his estate in Mar-a-Lago. He's being investigated for that. Also, he has been forced by the Supreme Court to release his tax returns to a congressional committee. So it hasn't been a great legal week for Donald Trump. But this case, I think, is really the least worrisome. And this one certainly will not get in the way of further political gain for Donald Trump. In fact, his supporters may agree with him that is a witch hunt.
Well, moving away from the tax issues, he suffered another blow. The Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock winning the runoff vote against his Republican challenger Herschel Walker, who was supported by Donald Trump. What do you reckon worked in Senator Warnock's favor?
And you're right. I think, Charles, this is probably a bigger blow to Donald Trump than this adverse decision against the Trump organization. Walker was a flawed candidate from the get-go, no political experience. He is a favorite son of Georgia, an outstanding NFL, National Football League player, outstanding college player, won what's called the Heisman Trophy, really well loved in Georgia, but no political skills. And his campaign was, let's say, idiosyncratic at best. He was very vocal about opposing abortion under any circumstances, even in the cases of rape and incest. Yet a number of women came forward during the campaign and said that he had paid them, forced them to, in fact, have abortions. He was forced to admit to 3 unacknowledged children during the campaign trail. So that worked against his conservative family value campaign, which he tried to carve out for himself at the outset. His other idiosyncrasies, one of the Warnock advert campaigns ended with Herschel Walker talking about how he no longer wanted to be a werewolf. So he really was an idiosyncratic campaigner. That said, he polled within a percentage point of Raphael Warnock, 51%, 2 percentage points, 51% or just under for Warnock, 49% for Walker. So given those flaws as a candidate, he didn't do nearly as badly as many people thought he might.
And just to let our audience know why this Georgia vote matters, the Democrats now hold an actual majority, not just a majority that is determined by a tie-breaking vote by the Vice President.
Right, Charles.
Laurie, thank you very much indeed. Laurie Laird in London.